In the summer of 2016, a tragic event unfolded in my life. One morning, after a night of drinking with friends, I received a frantic call from my sister. She tearfully informed me that my brother had taken his own life by hanging. Despite the shock and haze from the previous night, I rushed home to find my family in distress. I came home, everyone in the house is in shock, hysterical, Mom is crying. I went to the shower, I look, and there my brother is hanging on his own belt. I have zero emotions from the state of shock. Everything is burning inside, but I can't cry. We were asked not to touch the body until the police arrived. Suddenly my other older brother said,
I told you yesterday that a man in black was following me at night.
Further from the words of the elder brother.
The time was about 12 at night. I was in the city center and was going to go home, got into a taxi. Suddenly a man ran out of I don't know where and sat in the back seat of a car that was parallel. I looked at this car. A man in black was sitting and also looking at me. I thought maybe it was some friend of the driver of that car, and I didn't pay attention. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that he was staring at me intently. I looked at him several times and noticed that he was smiling. After taking a taxi to the bus stop, I got out of the car and walked home. Suddenly I turn around, and there's this black man following me. I turned around several times, and he continued to follow me. When I reached the house, he stopped and stood 20 meters from the house. I asked him what he needed. Maybe you're looking for someone. And he didn't answer anything. Then I went home, ate, went back out to the yard to smoke. I'm sitting smoking and suddenly I notice that this man is sitting on the courts near the fence door. I started asking, "Who are you looking for?" No answer, no greetings, only a smile in response. I invited him to come home and talk, and he just sat there and didn't move. After a while, this man in black came into the house. I saw him walk down the hall.
According to the description of the older brother, this man in black was tall, and he had a hat on his head that looked like a hat. That night, at about 3 to 4 o'clock, my brother, who hanged himself, left the house. My sister looked out the window several times, worried, thought where he could go at such a time, and went back to bed. At 7 a.m., our neighbors, who rent a house in our yard, found my brother hanged. The whole unsolved nightmare is still in my head. After the elder brother's story, his sister began to blame him for bringing this evil thing home. Unfortunately, in 2018, this older brother died of a heart attack.
Having purchased a plot in a summer cottage cooperative, I encountered numerous construction issues, including laying the foundation and dealing with a constantly flooded basement. One day, on my way to the cottage, I met an old woman from the local community. She stopped me, took my hand, and whispered, "Building there is in vain. It could end badly." Ignoring the warning, I pulled my hand away, replying, "It's none of your business," and continued on my way. The old woman shouted after me, "Buy icons for your house and hang them in every room." Disregarding the advice due to the long-standing opposition of the locals to construction in our cooperative, I stayed overnight at the cottage a few weeks later. At night, an unpleasant smell woke me up, and a strange candle scent wafted from the corridor. Looking out, I saw a human figure with a wax candle. The face was bloated and bluish-green, resembling a swine. Terrified, I closed the door, moved a sofa to create a barrier. This saved me from door hits, roaring, and strange groans. Someone tried to open the door. With the dawn, the sound subsided. After dismantling the barriers, I found no one, but the wax smell lingered. I couldn't shake off the shock all day. However, when my husband and children arrived in the evening, the fear passed. I decided not to share the details. That same night, I had a nightmare. A crowd of enraged women around a naked man held by hands and feet. One woman leaned over him with large sheep scissors. The women screamed, and I screamed with them. Blood sprayed like a fountain, reaching the women's faces. My husband woke me up. I was screaming in my sleep. He turned on the light and stared at me. Running my hand over my face, I felt blood. My entire neck and face were covered in blood. Recalling the old woman's advice, the next morning I went to the neighboring village in search of her. Finding out that the old woman traded medicinal herbs and practiced folk medicine, I shared my experience with her. Offering me tea, the old woman recounted the history of the place where our house now stood. There used to be a nobleman's house by the pond. The nobleman, obsessed with love for serf women and girls, stood out for his perversion and cruelty. Unable to endure, the locals seized and castrated him. Overwhelmed by shame, the libertine drowned in the ice hole of his pond. In spring, his body was found, the face resembling a swine's snout. Since then, his spirit wandered, attacking lone women. Realizing that building a house in that place was a mistake, we decided to sell the cottage. But we didn't succeed. The house mysteriously caught fire from within, reinforcing the dark character of the place and the vengeful spirit of the nobleman.